Back in December, I did a video covering some Nintendo Wii shovelware. Well, that grab bag of content is endless, so I figured I'd stick my hand back in to see what else I can find. I don't realistically think I can run out of Wii garbage, so I don't think this will be the last video where I do this. In any case, let's see what treasures I've uncovered this time. Also, the sun moved. Alright, this first game was a nightmare to get footage for because for some reason it didn't want to play nice with my capture device and I had to restart the recording like 8 times. We're off to a good start. So for anyone not up to speed on what the hell a Zhu Zhu Pet is, it's a toy line which apparently is still in production. They're one of the many robotic pet toys that have been released over the years, and in the case of Zhu Zhu Pets, they're robotic hamsters. Anyway, in 2010 they released a platformer for the Wii called Zhu Zhu Pets featuring the Wild Bunch. I bought a used copy like a week ago, so I only got the game, but I do remember seeing this game in person when it was new somewhere, and it did originally come with a Zhu Zhu Pet. Whether or not this was a fully functional toy like the actual ones you buy in the store is unclear to me, but I will say nothing makes me want to buy a video game more than the inclusion of a complimentary stuffed hamster. So it starts off with a little animated intro with a narrator telling us what these hamsters do. Well, apparently they're into the same stuff humans are, like playing sports and dressing up. I really hate how they're drawn. They didn't even make them look cute and their bodies look like nutsacks, but at least you can tell this one's a girl because it has eyelashes. You start off by picking a hamster. And I'm gonna go with this guy because he's the only one wearing a hat, so you know he's a bit of a character. Like I said before, it's a platformer and it's got your standard stage selection map. Upon starting the stage, I feel pretty misled because he's not even wearing his hat. I've been bamboozled and I want my money back. This is your standard low-budget platformer that understands what a platformer is if written down on paper, but doesn't at all understand why platformers are fun in the first place. The object is to traverse each stage, collecting whatever bullshit is floating in the air and finding a key to enter a locked door found somewhere in the stage to progress to the next. The controls are super floaty. The level design seems like it had little to no thought put into it, and it's one of those cheap platformers where they had no idea what to do with the camera. It just kind of sticks your character in the center of the screen at all times and follows every single movement you make, which I will say is not helping my horrible sensitivity to motion sickness. And spoiler alert, this isn't the only game in this video that made me want to vomit, but we'll get there soon enough. I feel like a terrible camera is the #1 thing that all shovelware games share. It's like how every square is a rectangle, but not every rectangle is a square. Every shovelware game has a bad camera, but not every game with a bad camera is shovelware. I think that's like a rule that they teach you in how to make a bad game school. Anyway, there really isn't much to say about the game itself. If you've seen one stage, you've seen them all. I finished a world just to see if there was either a boss kind of situation or some kind of significant stage before progressing into the next world, but nope. World 2 obviously changes aesthetic, but I couldn't bring myself to keep trudging through this monotonous garbo. I'm not the first, nor am I the last person to talk about Chute in a video. I always heard this game sucked, but I never tried it out for myself, so I figured this was a more fitting time than any. This game is your standard run-of-the-mill arcade gallery-style shooter where you have to shoot a bunch of chickens in a different setting with a variety of guns. This game's not good. I really don't even know where to start because this game is a complete mess, so I'll just throw everything I have in my head out in no cohesive order. So after the game select menu treats you to a nice hearty helping of chicken butthole, we hop into arcade mode, where you play as what I assume is this guy shooting chickens round the globe. You can nab power-ups to upgrade your shots, and honestly, half the time you kind of have to progress, since having an automatic weapon or a widespread shot is the only thing that helps because the hit detection in this game is beyond broken. Roughly 80% of the time, my shots miss, and I highly doubt it's my own fault considering the fact that I can see the reticle. The entire time I played, I had no idea what made a stage end. I knew there were a certain amount of chickens I needed to shoot, but once that number's reached, the stage just keeps going. I also never made it to the last stage because the game just ended abruptly before I reached the number threshold, and it wasn't until I watched the footage back that I realized 2 things. Stages end when you kill a chicken that for whatever reason sparkles like a shiny Pokemon, and the game also ends when you die. I had no idea you could even die. Upon further inspection, this is your health gauge right here, and I had absolutely no idea that even existed. This has got to be the most inconspicuous implementation of a health bar I've ever seen. It's as if they didn't want you to know it was there. Seriously, like, how was I supposed to know that was there? It's already hard enough to notice on its own, and the game never told me it was there, so it doesn't even actually look like a health bar. There's some other game modes, but I wasn't about to subject myself myself to any more of this. I did try out classic mode, but it was just more of the same, only with a timer. Anyway, this game has about 30 minutes worth of repetitive, unengaging content in total, and I'm pretty sure it sold for like $30 when it came out. I think I'd pay double that just to get my time back. So I've never seen the movie Jumper, and judging by the Rotten Tomatoes score of 15%, that's probably a good move on my part. I did, however, play the 2008 video game for the Wii based on said movie. I know nothing about the plot outside of what the game shows me, which isn't much, so I won't have much to say regarding the game's comparisons to the movie, but I will, however, have a few things to say about this janky mess of a game that I could barely play for more than 40 minutes because the camera actually did make me physically sick. So you play as Griffin, the main character of the movie. He's a jumper, which apparently just means he can use instant transmission and teleport all over the place at will. The game opens up with a quick little comic book style flashback where Griffin's parents are killed, and then it quickly ends. It's present day, and I've got no earthly idea what's going on, but here we go. The game immediately tells us how to use his teleportation ability, which incidentally needed an entire paragraph that covers the majority of the screen to explain. Now, I will admit that the teleportation aspect of this game is kind of cool, but only in concept, not in execution. This ability lets you dash at the speed of light across short distances and even lets you go through some walls that have cracks in them. Now, part of me wants to give this game the benefit of the doubt and say maybe it gets better and is more utilized later on, but from what I played, this mechanic is never really used in any kind of clever way, and judging by the ratings and reception this game received, I'm gonna say it's safe to assume it doesn't improve. You basically move from room to room fighting off hordes of enemies to progress. This actually reminds me a lot of Dragon Blade, a game I covered in my first Bad Wii Games video. I think a lot of these Wii games are like this, but it looks similar, controls similar, and mechanics aside is very similar in design. A bunch of corridors in a very empty environment with a muted color scheme with hordes of enemies that aren't difficult, but just a constant nuisance. Padding out its length, not with difficulty, but with just an overabundance of throwaway enemies that gate progression. The camera also made me actually need to stop playing for a while because it legitimately has no idea what it's doing half the time. The camera is one of the most important parts of any game like this, and for some odd reason it always seems like an afterthought. For the sake of the video, I wanted to play a little longer than I did, but I only got about 2 stages in because towards the end of the second stage, I died, and it made me respawn back at a part that was like 400 enemies back, and I noped the disc right out of my console. I did, however, beat the game's first boss, who basically is just an overpowered enemy. He kept kicking my ass, and I couldn't figure out a pattern in which I could attack him without getting hurt myself, and then I realized the game has regenerating health, so for about 7 minutes I ran around the stage, periodically attacking him and running away to regenerate health till he went down. I won. So I got a little story for you. When I was about 17 years old, having never seen the show before, I somehow accidentally stumbled upon a marathon of America's Next Top Model, and I got so invested in it that day that I stayed in the house all day long watching it because I needed to know what happened next. This really has nothing to do with the video itself, but I needed a little anecdote to use as a segue into me telling you that I played America's Next Top Model for the Wii. So you play as a girl, who I've cleverly named Girl, fighting her way to the top to take home the gold or whatever. The game starts off with your boyfriend dropping you off at whatever location the show is taking place at. I don't know, they all live in a house together or something. I don't know, I forget how the show works. They apparently have the most casual of relationships possible because he only tells her to call him once a week, and upon her saying she loves him, he responds with,
"Ditto that. Good luck, hot stuff."
So this guy, Jack, shows you to your room and then shows you your wardrobe, which you then use to switch outfits. And apparently, Jack just stood there and watched you change. And then, Jack shows us our bed.
See the bed? That's where you sleep when the day is over.
Just in case you didn't know what a fucking bed is. So when we finally get to speak to the other models, we get our first glimpse into probably this game's biggest glaring issue. A major mechanic of the game is dialogue choice. It earns or breaks the trust of NPCs in the game. Problem is, half of the dialogue makes no fucking sense. Here's an example.
I'm sorry for the way I've acted around you, okay?
Vanessa, you know, I've really been thinking about this a lot lately, and I really just want to apologize for the way I've treated you in the last 6.5 seconds. This is most of the game. It's like these lines were written and recorded totally separate from each other and then just thrown together in whatever order. You literally just met this person and the game makes you apologize for the way you've acted around them. So you meet the other models and eventually make your way into the city for our first mission. Go shopping. The The game tells you to buy some new clothes. I didn't have enough money for the Carmen Sandiego outfit, so I guess this white jacket will do. I'm gonna cut the bullshit and tell you that a majority of this game is running across the map over and over just to speak to whatever NPC it wants you to talk to progress. Occasionally they'll throw in minigames, but overall it's just a bunch of walking around finding whatever person you have to find, and then when the game does give you a minigame to play, it's completely broken. Like this one, for example. You have to perfect the catwalk, and in this game's tutorial it seems easy, just your typical rhythm minigame. Make motions with the Wii Remote and nunchuck in time with the arrows. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Fucking nope. I could not, for the life of me, get it right no matter how hard I tried. After playing the minigame twice, I only got 2 motions correctly in time. I don't know if maybe this is some kind of lag issue, but this game was just impossible. Other fun minigames include riding an exercise bike and fighting a bitch. Well, the game's progression is separated into in-game days, and after each week, there's a round of eliminations. I got eliminated the first week. I guess I'll never be America's Next Top Model. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it and want to see more, there's a couple other videos right there you can check out. And if you want to keep up to date with new videos I put out, click that subscribe button, and then also the bell icon so you can actually know if I upload. And if you want to help keep shoes on my feet and gas in my tank, my Patreon link is right there too.